So like I said, I'm Tom Ferree. I've been with Connected Nation for, 18 years now. We're a national nonprofit who has dedicated our time, talent, and treasures for the last quarter of a century to addressing the digital divide. Now, this work has taken us from Washington, D.C. to countless state houses and community centers all across the country. Now, we are most excited, perhaps, about this new expression of our mission. Joining in league now with our esteemed partner, Hunter Newby, we match our 24 years of experience in digital divide issues with his 24 years now in experience, well, more than 24 years of experience in digital infrastructure and network interconnection. Over the course of humanity, there have been a few general purpose technologies that have revolutionized our human existence and our standard of life. Comes to mind farming, the factory system, printing press, and of course the internet. Artificial intelligence represents the apex of these general purpose technologies. We are at the precipice of a great democratization of power and risk because of it. And yet the vast prosperity, and then on the other side, the risk containment that AI promises relies heavily on the mass diffusion and its accessibility. To influence this coming wave, like in life and in business, there's no substitute for being in the room. And the problem is, and that's the gating factor in how quickly and to the extent that all Americans will participate in this coming wave, is that there aren't enough rooms to support this mass diffusion. We are going to change that, and we are starting this innovative journey right here in America's heartland on the campus of Wichita State University. Now, clearly stated, I think the objectives today, this is, as I was telling someone, a horse of a different color. This is not your typical AI conference. We're not necessarily going to hit the technology head on. We're going to focus on the things that enable that technology. And so we hope that you'll connect with folks, network with folks, and leave here a little bit more informed about some of the things that perhaps you took for granted and understand why this investment and this time here at Wichita State is so critical to being an archetype for how the rest of the nation will become competitive in our race for AI dominance. Now, on the note of innovation, it is my esteemed pleasure to bring up a special guest, someone who's tasked with creating that agile and forward-looking environment where innovators and innovative companies can flourish across the state. He's got the experience and the pedigree to make it happen. He holds a master's degree in economic development and innovation. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you today the Chief Innovation and Strategy Officer for the Department of Commerce at Kansas, Mr. Romaine Redman.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's no longer morning anymore, but before I start, I wanted to just recognize and thank Tanya for taking that moment to recognize the significance that is September 11th. 24 years ago, the world and this nation was, forced to look at the environment in which we live and think about how to secure that going forward. And I think even today's action is a reinforcement that we learned from that experience, and we're resolute in our mission to continue going forward with strength, with vision, and with pride in what we hold so dear. So thank you, Tanya. And of course, I want to thank the Connected Nation team, of course, Chairman Ferree, the vision that you have and bringing that right here to Kansas, Wichita. I know we're at the core, and at the core, many beautiful things happen. So thank you for helping us to continue on that sterling mission of keeping brilliant things and wonderful things happening in this great state. But for me, though, it's an absolute pleasure to stand here in front of you today to talk about something that is literally the life I breathe, the breath I breathe on a daily basis, innovation, AI being the next new bright, shiny thing. But at the core of that is how can we really harness the power of AI to deliver the kind of prosperity that we want to see as a state and as a nation. And for that, I am very proud to hold this position. But, Kansas has always understood the importance of connection. We've done it with our railroads, we've done it with our highways, we've done it with our grids. And today, broadband and interconnection will build our future. And that is why we're here at the AI Summit 2025 right here on the campuses of Wichita State University. But Kansas is also at an inflection point because you see, for decades, infrastructure projects like our highway systems that I mentioned have defined how communities live, work, and thrive. Broadband, and specifically the establishment of Kansas's very first internet exchange point at Wichita State University, is our generation's transformative leap forward. And folks, I'm very excited about that because I love to leap and we love to see brilliant things happen here in our great state. But, this really came when we heard the vision that Connected Nation had, and we said, we're not just going to say, yes, it's a bright and beautiful vision, but we're also going to put some dollars behind it. Because we know that to achieve anything, we have to put together all the resources that needs to make it happen. And we made a bold investment of $5 million to have this ISP built. And I just got an update from the team to say that by next spring or so, it should be online. So I think the team deserves a round of applause today. Yes. Well, the IXP is not just about faster speeds, it's about unleashing innovation, strengthening our state's economic competitiveness, and of course, expanding digital opportunities for Kansans, no matter their zip code. And that's a hard mission for the Kansas Department of Commerce. Already, we're seeing where our infrastructure investments in our AI and connected networks are paying off with that $83.5 million investment done alone through the HARPA funds that we received as a state. We are impacting over 25,000 homes and businesses right here in the state. And, research has shown us that these kind of investments have the potential to unleash over 200% higher growth, business growth, that is, in communities, delivering about 20% higher incomes, and of course, stronger GDP growth. Isn't that something wonderful? Isn't that what we all want to see in our state? And my friends, that is the winning formula. That is the winning formula that's going to have Kansas not just competing with the best of them, but outshining the best of them, having infrastructure like this in place. But I want you to also think of this in practice and what it means in practice. In our education sector, rural students now have access to the same digital learning opportunities as our major cities. Healthcare, through telemedicine, reduces hours that the patients have to travel to seek specialist care. And of course, in agriculture, which is the lifeblood of this state, precision technologies are helping Kansas farmers to increase yields and sustainability, not just feeding local, but feeding national populations. And of course, for our small businesses, internet and interconnectivity is the great equalizer. When we talk about unleashing e-commerce, and a small business that is set up somewhere in Cheyenne County has access to the same market size that the business in Johnson County have access to, that is how we win as a state. But let me also give you another tangible example, because this was a very exciting one for me, and I love that it happened right here in the state. But a couple of weeks ago, we had our very first FAA certified drone for commercial operations, flew 30 miles from Seneca to Onega to deliver medical supplies, a totally unmanned system. And that partnership, my friends, was brought to us by Kelly Hills and their at Unmanned Systems and their vision, K-State Salina, the Kansas Department of Transportation, Hyman Brothers, and Pike Aircraft. Now, collaboration is also the other underpinning thing that is really going to make us succeed. We have to be able to collaborate and collaborate well. Look at the strengths that we have, the visions that we have, and ask ourselves, how can we leverage the strengths and the vision that we have to create something that is going to put us at the top of the pile? That is how we win, my friends. And then again, the other thing about this is that it also increases opportunities at the personal level. Think about the person who always wanted to do something more than what they've been brought up seeing. Think about that person who wants to tap into the magnitude that is our internet and the World Wide Web, to connect, to learn, fun, to build, to, and to innovate through. And I'm glad to know that so many of our partners right here in this great state is helping our entrepreneurs and our innovators to think beyond the four walls in which they exist. Right here at WSU, we know the transformation that our university or community partners are coming together to birth. Now think about how can we make someone who is all the way down here in Wichita connect to a global market that is all the way far east, far south, far north, or even to just expand the markets across this great nation. That is how we look at what makes us do things well and leverage it so that we can bring about prosperity for all of us. And my friends, as I close out today, I want us to leave you rather with a thought that for Kansas to lead, we must recognize that broadband and interconnection are not extras, but they are essential infrastructure, fueling transformation of our existing industries, and of course, birthing new ones. So the next appeal is, with AI and all the fantastic tools coming on board, think about how can we solve the next problem. Think about how can we bring about transformative solutions that are going to change the way in which we live, work, do business, and create prosperity for all of us. Friends, as I said, it has been a wonderful pleasure joining you here today. I enjoy the opportunities like this to connect and to learn and to see all the beautiful things that are going on. The next task is just to go out and do great things. The state needs you, the state appreciates you, and the state is ready to support you in that journey. Thank you, friends.